Greetings. Are you ready? Then please, step forward into this virtual adventure in order to begin.
Nexus is our legacy.
Nothing here is what it seems.
Lost paradise it be.
It's war, and it ain't gonna be pretty.
Nexus has a terrible secret.
Oh my.
Wildstar. Adventure is about to get an ass kicking.
There just ain't nothing better.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Wildstar, episode 12. I am Jazzy, joined here today by my co-hosts Nuts and Cabal. How we doing today, guys?
Great, got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm totally looking forward to this. Changes coming.
Oh yes, lots of them. Speaking of changes, big thing we're going to talk about today. Patch notes from PTR Drop 3. Already getting on that. Lots of cool stuff going on there. And, very interesting, there was a forum post that was put up on the official Wildstar forums this week, predicting the upcoming content for the next 7 months.
7 months. I think, I bet you they got more than that up their sleeve.
And then also this week, there was a very interesting live stream on the Nexus Report. Lots of stuff about PvP and PvE going into there. And then, as always, we have our open mic, so stick around. So last week, we had our new PTR drop for Drop 3. We're already right on the ball, right behind the last drop. They threw it up there. So we went through the patch notes and picked out some really good ones that we found very interesting.
There was a lot of notes for this. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know, I think good changes. I mean, there was a lot of information here.
Definitely. This seems like actually one of their bigger drops as far as changes and fixing things like rebalance and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems like they really got into actually making changes that you're going to notice a difference.
Definitely. And right off the top, one of my favorite people in the game, the taxi driver.
Taxi.
New voiceover for him.
Thank God.
Because everybody loves the taxi driver.
Thank Jesus.
I know way too many people that mute him.
I almost had to mute myself. I love the graveyard guy, or the caretaker, because he's the graveyard guy and the recall guy. They're all funny. And then the taxi guy, he has a few lines that are funny, but the rest I was like, shut up. Just take me where I need to go.
I don't use it that much, though I find him starting to use it more.
Definitely.
But I noticed that he has some good liners in there.
I love him. See, so many people are like, taxi driver, mute. I don't want to hear him. There's add-ons that mute him. Like, literally add-ons exist to stop him from talking.
No, I couldn't do that.
It's horrible. But yeah.
Anyone's in there. But
He'll get some new dialogue and have some new jokes for us. And then another thing for you dirty, filthy exiles, your Granok females will be getting their bald hairstyle back.
I haven't
the bald
seen a single Granok female on my server, so.
Yeah, I don't see too many of them. Our good friend Salty is about the only Granok female I think I've seen on our server, quite honestly.
I think it's good, though, that they give the Granok bald. I mean, they're a bunch of rock. I mean, it just
Makes
seems
sense.
you have to.
I guess that's why they put it in quotes. He said quote bald.
Yeah, you have to give that option.
And then going to a slight PvP change, but in PvE as well, I guess. Tether now works on mounted players. I guess before it was just missing them, because we need more things to annoy us from stalkers.
Yeah, seriously.
Good things. Okay, and then we have a couple of dungeon changes. The Ruins of Kelvereth, Forge Master Trogan, who is the last boss. They remove some of the safe zones during the Exonite Shards phase, which is the phase where he's shooting out the little, saw blades and things like that, and adjusted the wall, because what people were doing is they were just jumping on the back wall and completely avoiding that phase. Which is not hard at all, and is actually one of my favorite fights. I love that fight. Seriously, on normal and vet, that fight is awesome.
Yeah, just cranking though behind the wall and avoiding the whole thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't it kind of remove the point of the game? And,
exactly.
I know they want to. I know they want to optimize in the shortest path and everything else and get through it, but I don't know. I mean, it seems to me me that would be part of the content. That's what you do. It's part of the game.
So no more cheating, you cheater McCheater faces.
Man,
You actually have to play the game.
awesome.
And quite honestly, I mean, if you can't avoid that, you're not going to do well in raids.
Yeah,
So-
It is pretty easy.
Yeah.
how much of it's just people trying to optimize, saying we don't
taking the
bother
shortcut.
this,
And then also in Sanctuary of the Sword Maiden, this one I actually haven't finished, so I'm not familiar with this boss, but Ondu
Thank
Lifeweaver
God.
is
Yes,
having
like 5 million health. I don't even know, but it was a lot. Yeah.
he's having his HP lowered by about 750k, which
he's not that
seemed
bad,
like a
though.
lot. I guess if he had 5 million health, because that when I read that, it seemed like a lot to me, but I wasn't familiar with the boss. But if you said he had 5 million, then that makes sense. That's
Well,
a
I don't
whole
know if he
lot.
had that much. Don't quote me on that. But he had a lot. He had probably at least double of what normal bosses have, which is like 1 million.
Yeah.
I don't think he really needed it, but I guess it's to make it easier on the
Yeah, because it seems like a
silver
lot of
runs.
people get that's the one dungeon that people when they're doing the attunement are like, oh god, that one. It took them like
Yeah.
hours upon hours to get through
That
it.
one and Skullcano, just because Silver Sword Maiden is 75 minutes to get silver. And if you miss it by 2 minutes, that's like an hour and 15 minutes wasted, you know?
And another thing that they're adding with the PTR Drop 3 is the Ultimate Proto Games will be added. These are level 10, kind of like mini instances that are going to be there to teach people the basics of the game. Dodging, healing, tanking, interrupting, things like that. Which is definitely a good thing to have.
Yeah, this
definitely.
was what we talked about last 2 weeks ago there with this drop, how where they were looking to remove some of that toxic gameplay, and this was their little way of helping the players out that need to learn, because they're not trying to push people out, they're trying to bring people in, but yet they got to give them the skills to learn.
And the other thing, too, is that it actually gives you something to do once you kind of leave that beginning little starter area, It puts
Yeah.
something in between, the adventures and ship hands and dungeons. It gives you a little bit more of a scaling of content, basically.
I'm
That's
glad
always a good thing,
because
too.
this game was a pretty big learning curve too.
Definitely.
I mean, it is kind of basic, like stay out of the red telegraphs, but also interrupting. You want to you want to wait on your interrupts, and healing is definitely a lot more different because you got to actually hit people with it. And I think dungeons, even in veteran 50s, will be a lot better when people start learning the game, because I think people still need to get used to it.
Another thing that they're doing is taxi costs have been adjusted so that the cost is based on the content level of the destination rather than the distance traveled. So I guess what they're saying is, they assume if you're going to, let's say, Grimvault, you're probably 50, you probably have more money, so it's going to cost you more. So,
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Me either.
I mean, hooray! I'm at
Just because
50,
we're 50
but I
doesn't
don't
mean
have
we're
money.
rich. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty decently rich. I almost like 25, 30 flat. So, I mean,
Ooh,
sure.
money bags.
I like my freaking money.
I know where to go to get my loan.
I've gotten one plat, just breaking one plat, and I'm like, oh, I'm all excited. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I don't think it means it'll be excessive. I mean, like, right now, they're what? Like, I think the worst I've seen is 15 silver. And that's, like, really far traveling. So, I mean, it'll probably still won't be that much, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure
we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Another thing that they're going to be doing, and I actually see this a lot on the commodities exchange on our server, what they're going to add to the commodities exchange is that an alert will come up if somebody tries to sell an item that is below vendor costs after fees. So basically, they're going to help you not lose money.
I think this is a great change. I like having that little thing in the background as a kind of a little safety net to be like, okay, because I don't get to use the exchange too much, and it's nice to be able to have that little safety net there. I think this is a nice change.
I mean, I see it happen quite a bit, and I've bought out stuff myself that even after the fees, I could take to a vendor and sell for more than what I bought it for. I don't understand how people are doing that, because if you mouse over an item, it tells you this is how much it sells for at the vendor, and they're listing it for less than that. So it's nice that they put it there. Maybe if someone's in a hurry or, whatever, it just helps people out.
I think some people don't understand that when you sell something on the commodities, it takes 12% of your earnings, or 14, I think, actually.
Yeah, it's actually quite high. I've never seen one that big in an MMO before.
Yeah.
So this one I'm actually really, really excited for. Oh, I can't wait for this. They're in housing. They're going to add the ability to pick your own music for your housing plot.
That's going to be cool.
Yes.
I'm pretty excited about that.
And you can see some videos and stuff like that. I'm actually probably going to jump on the PTR myself here in the next few days, make a couple of videos to put up. But you can see a couple videos where it's over on the far end, and it's got kind of like a little playlist selection, and it has like it has a theme like Elden, and it has like 3 or 4 different songs in it, and you can choose to have it like play through a playlist or select one song, or different things like that, which I'm really, really excited for because this game's music is amazing. I love it. So it'll be cool to be able to change it, because right now it's tied to your skybox. Whatever sky you pick is what the music is, but I think even still there's only like 3 or 4 songs that'll play. So that one is really exciting. I cannot wait for that one.
Well, Mr. Knacker's been busy.
And this is another one that I'm actually excited for as well.
This is a good quality of life one right here.
Yes. When you're crafting, you will be able to use materials from your bank, except for power cores and catalysts.
Are we going to get a group of the people complaining, saying, "Oh, you're no longer hardcore"? Are we going to have people pushing back on this?
I hope not.
I
no
hope
longer
not too.
hardcore because
I know.
walk 5 feet to the bank.
It's such a simple little thing, but I
couldn't see
wonder,
that, but...
will
If
people,
it happens, those people need to.
because it seems like whenever they make a change for, a little quality of life thing, just to make things a little easier, sometimes you get these people pushing back. Just, I don't know, maybe it's just in their nature just to do it.
I know people that have like 5 stacks of a certain mat in their bag because they, go farm it forever, and then they just craft stuff out of it. But it would be nice to put in your bank and then just not worry about it. And
Yeah, I think that'd
definitely.
be great.
I mean, like, my medic has 2 gathering professions, and I always harvest seeds and plants and all that whenever I see them for my technologists on Jazzy, and I fill my bags quickly with survivalist and mining and the seeds. I'm overstocked on those constantly because it caps anything that goes into your trade skill bag at 250, and then anything over that goes into your normal bags.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to be able to keep that stuff, just empty my bags into my bank and just be able to craft from there without having to carry it all with me. So that'll definitely be nice. I wonder though why they're excluding power cores and catalysts from that. I wonder if there's like some internal technology thing that they can't do something with those because they modify, gear. I don't know if that has something to do with it.
I think it might be that. Yeah, because mats are just mats, whereas power cores, depending on the power of it, will increase the overall, effectiveness of your gear. And catalysts are like a modifier, so like
that's the only thing I can figure.
Stuff.
Is that maybe it's just something they don't have the IT to do yet.
And I don't
maybe
think
they will in the future.
I don't think power core stack as much as mats do. There's a lot of mats.
Another thing that they will be doing is they're going to add new crafting schematics to Genetic Archives, which is our 20-man raid, for weaponsmiths, armorers, outfitters, and tailors. So all of the big weapon and gear professions. And still no love for architects. They hate us.
Yeah. Nothing for you.
Still don't have any world drop recipes either.
I think it'd be cool if they got some strain furniture and stuff like that, or Elden stuff. I think that'd be pretty sick.
That'd be great. I mean, I love architect. That was my first profession. I've kind of really been sitting on the technologist quite a bit, and I really enjoy that one. But architect just... it hasn't done much for me. It got me a lot of stuff when I was, leveling and gave me a lot of cool stuff for my house, but it's finally starting to creep up a little bit where prices of stuff are starting to go up, because I think people are kind of getting to that point where they're like, okay, I can do some stuff with my house now.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, like, there was stuff, and they were the reasons that you had some of those, like, exploits from architects where they were vendoring stuff for a crap ton of money. they just weren't worth selling. But hopefully at some point, you know, once they get things rolling, I can get some more recipes, and then I'll move back to Architect and look at that.
As they're always fighting balance issues and everything else, I think this is one of those things that you'll see down the road that they will address. I mean, it's not lost on them. You know?
And I think that it's kind of a lower priority because Architect is more of a, you know, superficial profession. It's not really needed necessarily for progression, whereas, you know, weapon, armor, outfitter, and tailor are like the main, you know, these are going to help people progress professions. Progress, there we go, professions.
Take 3.
I know, right? And so I think that the quality, they're trying to put higher quality ones into the raids, which makes more sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm glad they're doing that.
Definitely.
One thing I'm afraid of is the things that drop in there, like the schematics, are they going to be best in slot? Because that's the problem they're having right now is crafted gear is best in slot because you could choose what's on it.
Right.
And
I think, though, if it comes from the raid, they'll probably do like what they have with some of the Elder Gem gear. Like, if you craft it, you have to have killed the boss. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think they've talked about that before, that they were going to put in schematics for like rating quality stuff, but I think they said either the person who crafts it or the person who's wearing it would had to have killed a, you know, equivalent boss for that quality of gear to use it.
hopefully it's not best in slot because the people who actually work for it and don't craft stuff, you know, it sucks.
Yeah.
But the next thing that I'm really happy to see is technologists getting an expert research tech tree.
Yes.
Because to be honest, I felt like technologists were really unfinished before launch because we don't have a tech tree. Like if you're max in your profession for anything really, even architects, you can go to the crafting place. I know for Exiles, it's in the Academy Corner, I think it is, where all the crafting stations are. There's a little person there, and he'll sell you recipes for new schematics for crafting vouchers you can get from your dailies. And technologists didn't have that.
Yeah, that was actually something I noticed right when I got to the top of the tech tree, having done architect and
all my
weaponsmith.
guildies were like that weren't technologists. Because I think I was the first in my guild. They were like, "Are you sure? You're crazy. You're talking to the right guy?" I'm like, "No, I'm pretty sure. I'm talking to this guy. He got nothing."
Yeah.
And I was pretty upset about it. But you know, even if it wasn't really finished, I'm glad they're doing it this early. Because if you think about how much they got to put in, like they have to think about what they're going to make and how much it's going to be for vouchers. You know, it's pretty fast.
Well, that was the thing too. Like when I started really getting into technologists, like I noticed that right away that it didn't have that expert research tree that my other two, you know, main professions had. And I was like, well, it almost seems like there's no point in doing that Elden daily ration quest for a technologist because I'm like,
I have been doing it just because I knew one day that they're going to do this, and I'm glad I did because now I have like 20 of them. I should have more. But.
And see, that's what I kind of figured, that it was kind of like Architect, where it's not quite finished, and yet, like you said, you can kind of tell it's not. But you know, one day they'll put it in. So
if you can even think about what they're going to put in, like they'll probably put a new power cores. That would be nice. Like
they've actually
probably
talked
hybrid.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Epic power cores.
Epic power cores. I'm excited. This money.
And then I'm thinking that they'll probably do better flasks, like we were talking about. They'll probably do ones that are longer duration, more meant for people that are raiding, like probably like 30 minutes to an hour.
I think that the high end potions should go through death. I think because you're gonna wipe so much.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, if they keep it at 15 minutes, that's fine. Because if it goes through death, then that's fine. Because you're getting the whole duration out of it, and you can stack those, or you can stack it with food too. You can eat food and have that and get bonus stats.
Another little quality of life change that they're going to be making is that the friends list UI will now support inviting account friends on another realm. So the little pop-out list will make it a lot easier for you to invite someone on another realm to your party. You'll no longer have to type the /invite player @ user or server name. So that's a nice little quality of life change. And Cabal, you actually picked up some stuff specifically that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I just wanted to go over. There was certain ones I picked out that I thought were interesting, and of course, I always want to touch on the engineers. What changes have come for them, and in these notes, the engineers have gotten a lot of good changes to a lot of abilities. They had probably a good 10 to 15 ability changes now, but the thing with that, it sounds like a lot, but they were kind of the same change carried throughout. What was going on was when you were playing, say you used, let's say, Energy Auger, for example, that applies a wound also. But what it was doing in the background was there was a secondary combat check, which meant that your wound could have been deflected independently. So say, for example, you hit old boy, that went with your initial combat check, and then there was a secondary combat check going on in the background to see if your secondary effect would go in. Well, they've taken this out, so basically now if you hit target and it's not deflected with that initial hit, your secondary effect automatically is going to be applied.
Basically, you were hitting, your ability was applying a dot, and it was giving a chance for your dot to be deflected?
Exactly. There's
Wow.
a secondary.
It was like, it's kind of like 2 attacks. Like
Just treating it as
initial
2
damage-
instead of
The
1.
initial damage would hit, but the add-on debuff would be deflected.
Exactly.
crazy.
There was secondary combat checks going around in the background, all with a lot of our abilities.
Wow.
Well, they've gone through and fixed all those.
So now
So
they're all 1.
right. So now they're 1. So now if
So
you
if the
hit
damage gets deflected, the wound will get deflected.
right. So the same thing with any healing rain, any of these basically all got stabled out, which I think is just going to be great because it's going to give a more stable feel in their gameplay,
Yeah, I
because you never realize that second combat check was going on in the background, and you're like, one time one thing's going on and then another time it's not, and you're like, well, what the heck's going on?
According to my friend Struggle, he said that Carbine has engineers where they want them, and I think that's fine because they do constant damage and they're really good, and they have no way of escaping or even really like.
No, they're a
have
dot
to-
class.
Yeah, they have constant sustained damage.
All right, but also down under the content section in the patch notes there, I thought one of the things they're adding here, it would have been a very useful thing because I found that I had a problem with it while I was leveling. Now they're talking, so if you have quests in different zones, when you go to check out the information on that, they're going to link better. So when you open your map and you're kind of saying, where is this quest? Now it's supposed to take you to the proper zone that quest can be found in.
Oh, nice.
Which is just a quality of life thing because,
Yeah.
again, so many times I'm like, I got this quest, but I'm like, I have no idea where I'm supposed to go for it at this point
Yeah.
because it's either been a while and I've passed it, or, in some of those world ones and regional storylines, I kind of, I save those even if they're not in my immediate level because I'm going to go back and do them. But sometimes you kind of get to forget where they're at. Well, this is going to help fix that, so I hope this comes through as well as I'm thinking it's going to. So that looked like it's going to be a nice change. One of the other things I picked out was in the Northern Wild Zone, the landing site. This one I just thought goes back to I'm always pulling out the ones that I just think are a little fun. The 2 Granok mercs lying down, they now have beer. So they took the time to make sure the Granoks had their beer. And I thought that was just funny.
Screw
They
the
took
Granoks.
Took the time.
Kill 'em
Pretty
all.
hilarious.
If you go down into the crafting section, crafting trainer Trixian in Ilium has remembered how to train players in Crafts of the Empire. And I just, again, thought it an entertaining use of words that he remembers how to do it.
I wonder what
And-
that is, though. Crafts of the
Yeah.
Empire?
Yep, Crafts of the Empire. But whatever that is, he's remembered how to do it.
That's
And
good.
actually, yeah, it's good that he has remembered that out. One small quality of life thing, if you don't use add-ons for this, is in the UI section, the social window. Now you're able to resize the width and height of your social window to basically any desired size. So, nice little, again, quality of life thing that you can at least now adjust that versus. So if you want a little bigger to help your eyes out,
They
you
need to
can do
add that to your personal bank. That's one thing that's been bothering me, because I heard like horror stories about that Space Stash add-on, which like everybody uses, but apparently if you installed it, they've probably fixed this by now, it would like automatically buy out all the other bank slots. And that gets expensive, because I think after like the third one, it goes like 1 platinum, 5 platinum, then 10 platinum.
Oh no!
For the last 3 slots. So people are like losing money because this add-on was doing it automatically. But I really wish that they would add like a resizing thing to the bank. That for me would be great, to your personal bank, that is.
One other thing that they got going on is housing. I'm sure you know about this one, Jazzy. More of the seating decor now will allow players to have more options to sit on them. So more with the housing is becoming more interactive.
That'll be good for my stage, for our theater.
Yeah, and I know people want to have the beds where you can lay on them and so forth. But the point is they're starting to implement some of these things. And I think that's, another step in the right direction. So you will find more in your house.
Yeah, that'll make your house like a little more like interactive, a little more, I bet the RPers will really like that too. That you can actually interact with the seats at your housing plot.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad. I have a really nice bar. I actually have 2 Lop Snowmen having a nice dinner together on a date. And I'd like to sit at my bar, but I have to do /sit. It doesn't look natural. And I'm really glad they're adding that, because it kind of bothered me a bit.
This other one's one that I liked with the housing remodel features, like when you go and you buy trims and so forth. Now those can be purchased once and you own it forever. So
Nice.
I think that is great. But as a result, they've upped the prices a little bit.
Makes
but
sense.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. That's fine. But
buy them all.
I wish they would do that for like everything, like the skies, the walls, because I've spent so much money trading out like my walls and my trims and like everything in my house, and it'd be nice. I mean, I get why they don't do it with everything, because they need housing to be a gold sink. It's the same reason that you have to like repair your plots once a week, but it'd be cool if they added that to some of the other stuff. I mean, maybe just the like inside house stuff, I'd be even okay with that.
Again, going back to Wildstar humor, if you go down to their very, very bottom in the patch notes, down under the audio section, I will quote this one just so I don't get it wrong, but they state, and I quote, "Added spell audio to a slew of mobs, so keep your ears open." Nice. So apparently they're getting in there, adding a bit more to that, and maybe you'll pick some up, maybe it won't.
So a really interesting post showed up on the official forums this week. There was a player who took all of the interviews and data mining and all these things that have come out over the last about 6 months to a year, and they compiled it all together and basically put a timeline predicting the next 5 major content drops for Wildstar, which I found very, very interesting.
Can you imagine how much time it took him to sit and go through all that information?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And it's actually, like, it's really, really not hard to figure out, though, I would think, if you had paid attention and looked at it. I mean, compiling it all together, yeah.
Right.
But it's really cool to see all the things that are going to be coming our way. The first one that they were looking at is the one that would be upcoming, Content Drop 3, and they called this one the Defile. Predicted for this one to be on or around September 1st, 2014. Only a few things in this one. The opening of a new zone, East Grimvault, because that place needs more of it. It's not big enough. But I've actually seen this zone. There was a point, I think a few episodes ago, where I used a picture of this area as our little background picture. And this place is actually, it looks kind of like just a golden area. And it's got like some pillars that rise out of the middle of it. The devs have even teased this zone on Twitter. They've posted pictures from the inside of what it looks like. So I'm really curious. To me, it looked like in this little area, there's like a big spot at the bottom, like I said, that has that yellow and all that. I wonder if they're planning on putting like either a raid or like an event, a big one right there, because it looks way different if you look at this map, and we'll leave links to all this in the description. This part looks way different than the rest of the zone. Obviously, the rest of it looks all purple. Again, Strain, Grimvault. Usually that's the theme.
You know, and right off the top of my head, it just makes me think of the, Drusera story, where you're building the village and, how you're bringing all these pillars out for shelter and everything. I wonder if it's going to be some kind of continuation with that story.
Could be, possibly, yeah. And then the other thing with this drop 3 that they're predicting is a new veteran zone of Levian Bay. So basically, kind of like they did with Northern Wastes and Crimson Badlands, that this will probably be a new daily zone that will add some more, dailies for us to do, maybe further the story of Drusera a little bit. Looking at this map, this one to me looked like one of the Exile starting areas.
What surprises me is how almost small this area looks.
Small compared
this
to
one
the
is
other
small.
ones.
It could be deceiving, but it seems like that area is going to be compact. I mean, it just...
So much chat.
That'll definitely make it fun on the PvP servers for us, huh?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that they're predicting is the next Drusera instance, number 6.
I actually like those.
Oh, yeah.
I liked
A
them
lot
a
of people
lot.
don't because they're
Really?
like, oh, lore, ew. I'm like, yeah, no.
And that you don't get
it's
anything
not.
from them.
Oh, well, I mean, you got loot. Yeah.
I've seen so many people complain about that. They're like, it's such a waste of time. I don't get any loot or any XP or anything. I'm like, then don't do them. You don't have to.
I thought they were fun.
Yeah, they're really cool, actually. Even if you're not, like, super into lore, they take, like, 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, the questing was kind of dry for me. And I almost don't want to level up an alt for a little bit until I get this guy attuned, and I never want to get attuned ever again. But those Drusera quests were a nice break, I think. Like,
Definitely.
you didn't have to do PvP at all, or you just did a Drusera quest, and it was a nice little break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had really little fighting in them. It really was just sit back and watch the story. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, even if you're not super into lore, this really teaches you just the overarching story of Wildstar. So the next one, Content Drop 4, they labeled this one Ultimate Proto Games, which would be on or around October 1st, 2014. With the PTR drop, this did come out before those patch notes. Obviously, already confirmed that the Proto Games is going into drop 3, but still cool, they have it in there. Another thing that they predicted about this content drop in drop 4 is that the new housing stuff would probably go in. One of the biggest things is that they had talked about only sparsely here and there and more being, kind of cryptic about it, is guild housing and neighborhoods. Touched on this briefly before on our show.
Yes, we have.
And the exact quote that they're thinking this came from is back in April. They said, guild housing is a feature we're actively looking at post-launch.
I think this will be good. I look forward to this. More
Yes.
housing
Me too.
options. That's just, how can you
I
go
think it'd be
wrong?
awesome to like show off your house. Like they just go home and there's like a neighborhood. Like you can go
Yeah.
home and you can go outside and you see a bunch of other houses.
And of course, I'm totally looking forward to seeing what they come up with for the Makari housing.
Yeah.
Me too. Same with Mordash.
That's what I want to know.
Mordesh and Makari housing was another thing that they predicted as part of this drop. Going back to the guild housing neighborhoods, I still say the same thing I said before. It really depends on how they do it, because you cannot have that many in one space and not expect people to have performance issues. So they really need to be careful with how they do it. You can't just have, if you have 100 people in your guild, you can't just have 100 houses around you in full render, constantly. That just won't work. So it really depends, the neighborhoods more specifically, I guess, on how they do that.
It might be like your neighbors. Like you could, I don't know how they would set that up. I think you would set
They're
a
gonna have
couple
to
of
have some
people.
instancing.
Yeah, I think there would have to be a couple of people in the neighborhood. Like you can have neighbors and you can go visit them, but maybe there's people that you can add to your neighborhood and you can only have like maybe like 5 or 10.
Yeah, like something like that wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, they've said before, exactly, there's a reason that you can see houses off in the distance, it's just part of that whole cryptic thing.
Yeah.
But like you
That'd
said,
be-
having like a cap on it, like maybe, you can't have more than 10, so you can have 1 to 10 and whatever your computer can handle, go with that. But yeah, and then the guild housing, I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too.
Because that'll, give us somewhere to build as a community. And I imagine that it'll probably have a higher decor limit, might be bigger in space and in scope, so that you have more stuff to put there. Hopefully you can put, more than one resource node, because on your normal housing plot you can only have one, like survivalist or relic or mining, so be a place for your community to come in and get resources too. But
and having everybody in one spot, like they're being bonuses to being in a guild house, like instead of maybe your own house. I don't know.
And then the last thing that they said with this drop 4, their last prediction, is that we would get a new PvP arena that is in the style of Protostar.
I think Protostar is hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, I love them.
They like literally die when they lose their jobs.
All right, so that's it for Content Drop 4. In Content Drop 5, which is the Shades Eve, that would come in late October, so in the same month. That would be the first holiday event that would be coming to Wildstar.
So now as a holiday event, it's going to be temporary content.
Yes. There's actually, this was leaked a while back, actually, I think right before the game dropped. They did a patch and it included all this stuff. There's actually a lot of leaks that have a dungeon, a hoverboard, mount customizations, quests, and housing items. And all of this stuff is attached to Shades Eve. And It's all really cool looking stuff. Again, we'll leave a link to it so you all can see it. But I'm really looking forward to that. I hope that they do something cool like the trick-or-treating and WoW. That you could just visit other zones and get candy and do little fun events and stuff like that. So I think something like that would be really cool. And then also along with that, they're predicting that the zone Merkmire will be opened. Not really a whole lot of information about this zone. This is the zone that is off the coast of Whitevale currently, and it is blocked off. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot of information about it as far as level or anything like that. I would assume being that close to Whitevale, it might be like an alternative to Wilder Run, maybe. No real information on it. So just that the zone might be open at that time. In the Content Drop 6, this is called Augmentation, predicting to be out on or around November 1st of 2014. They're actually going to be putting in a new raid at this point. This is called Augmentors 20. It's a 20-man raid. Doing some research in this, I actually got a little more information about this raid. Apparently this raid is currently on the PTR. It's up right now. It's in a very, very early stage. I think there's only 1 or 2 bosses that are actually inside of it at the moment. What I've seen and what I've read is that this raid is actually not going to be a whole new tier of content, but rather a step in between the current 20-man and the 40-man. So It's going to be like a little stepping stone for people who can't or haven't been able to get into the 40-man, basically. And there's a couple videos up of it. I think they're in French, so you can't really understand what they're saying. But if you want to see it, maybe you can. Maybe you're French.
They can.
I don't know. I can't understand what they're saying, but it looked cool. So I'll leave a link to that video as well, so everyone can check that out.
And they have a new daily zone coming out, huh?
Another one in this one, yeah. Everstar Grove, same thing.
Too many dailies.
Oh yeah, it's a new veteran zone. I guess we assume that means dailies, but no idea what, honestly.
It might just be on their questing zone.
It could be, yeah, just an alternative. Like I said, with Merkmire, could be an alternative to Wilder Run. And another thing that they're predicting is going to get added in this drop is vanity pets.
Yay!
Which is something they've talked about doing for a while. Combat pets are great.
I've never been big on vanity pets in a game, but you know what? I'm really curious to see where the system could go.
I want a Rosdower following me around.
I think
all the time.
I think there with the technology that they're putting out in these games today, I think there's a lot of potential down that road for them, and I'm very curious to see what they do with it. Just like when they said, when they were first, kind of making the game, they had their housing team, and they just kind of were over there and they did that. And next thing you know, they're coming to them, the producers with more and more information. Look at what we did. Look at what we did. And it became this huge thing. I'm kind of curious to see if they can do something similar with this.
And then the other thing they said in this one, they predict that the Drusera instance number 7 will be in this one in November. Drusera is scary and she's evil. I'm calling it now, by the way. I'm putting it out there.
She's going to turn in the end.
Nice lady.
No, she's evil and she's going to kill us all.
What I love,
I don't trust her.
I think I've heard this discussion before, but what I find entertaining with Drusera is she's so powerful and hugely powerful, and you see her, she snaps her fingers and drops these giant monster mobs, but yet she needs your help.
Yeah, exactly. See,
you're like
shouldn't trust her.
You're
She's
like this little guy.
shady.
It's like
That's right. I'm calling it now. I'm putting it out there right now. And when she's evil, I'm gonna come back to episode 12 and be like, "Look, see, I told you guys.
Told you."
You remember this day." All right, moving on. Content drop 7, the Gala Winterfest Extravaganza.
More temporary content.
More holiday stuff.
Yes.
On or around December 1st, 2014. This would be the second holiday event in Wildstar. And, yeah, pretty much it.
And I
Don't
know
have a lot of information on that one.
But, with all these holiday events, a lot of times it's just like the Vanity Pet. You get a lot of these little things, these trinkets of
Cosmetic
whatever.
Stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hopefully they think beyond just the cosmetic and they give it a little something extra, whether it does something or it's just whatever, but think beyond the standard MMO history style of what they do with, here's your little trinket and your little cog in the wheel or whatever, and make it do something, even if it just, I don't know. I think it'd be nice to see.
And then also in this content drop, they predict that they will add something for PvP. There is a map. They actually didn't talk about it in this specific forum post, but I know of. There is a Battleground map that was data mined, and it's called Cannon BG something. So basically it's predicted that it uses cannons in the Battleground for something, obviously. But I'm thinking
okay with that.
myself that it'll probably fall under that. They're saying something for PvP. But really that's it as far as things that have a date. They did have other things in here that they couldn't really put into any kind of timeline. There are 3 zones. Wow, I'm going to butcher these names. Corrales, Dreadmore, and Hallian Ring. I think I got him right.
I think
Yeah, I was going to say that wasn't so bad.
actually, is that an L in Halen Ring?
Hallian?
I don't see an I in there.
Halen?
It's just H.
Maybe?
H.
Oh, you
Halen.
killed my thunder.
I'm sorry. I gotta
You
correct
dirty
you on this
exile. But anyway, these 3 zones, they pretty much look, other than Dreadmore. Dreadmore is actually the zone that is south of, or I'm sorry, I think it's actually west of Ilium. It's the one right under Daradoon and Ilium, and I guess Aurora on the bottom part of the map there. It looks weird. If you look at this map, it has kind of like a swampy look on part of it, and then the other part is very green and very alive with a big area in the middle. So I'm wondering if Drusera is messing with some stuff again. I don't trust her. But this zone is the only one, Dreadmore, that's connected to a continent. These other 2 maps for the Corrales and Hallen Ring, you're going to make me say it all weird now. These 2 zones are not connected to any part of the map. So I don't know if that means that they're maybe off planet or just instance somewhere or out in the middle of the ocean.
Lost Island.
The lost city of Eldon rediscovered, maybe, up out of the oceans.
Well, that Hallen Ring, or whatever, however you say it, it looks a lot like the Far Side. It looks like their maps. So I'm really thinking that one more so than anything else might be off planet. I've heard rumblings a long time ago of like an asteroid, us being on an asteroid at some point. So I wonder if that one might have something to do with it.
I was just thinking that Corrales there reminds me of, I don't know, I see it makes me think Atlantis. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. That one kind of looks like it's like an island or, like somewhere out in the middle of the ocean. That place is huge, though. If you look at that map, that's pretty big.
It is.
For the kind of area that it's in. But
Dreadmore looks really big.
yeah, Dreadmore is even bigger. That's really big. It looks like at the bottom of this Corrales map, there's some kind of like impact site or something happened down
At
there.
the bottom left.
At the bottom left.
So there's supposed to be appearance changes, which would be nice because I want a haircut.
Yes.
And veteranship hands, which
oh, that'd be so great.
The button's there, but you can't actually click it, I think.
That is true, yeah. I never really thought of that.
Yeah, and there's no like incentive to go back and do them because some of them were fun. Like the one in Malgrave was super fun, and other things, rocket boots. I was looking at that. I totally zoned out when you guys were talking about Corrales and stuff, and I saw rocket boots and like, what?
Yeah, Mike Donatelli a while back on one of the live streams. Old Donatelli is good for dropping things he shouldn't on live streams. What he said was that they were working on something better than flying mounts because somebody had asked a question if they would ever put that into the game. So speculation is, for a long time it was like a glider system. I forget what game it is that somebody had talked about, that they have a glider system, but basically you can't stay in the air constantly. You have to hit these certain like checkpoints to be able to keep going. That's the biggest reason why a lot of people don't want flying mounts in like new MMOs and things like that, is because of, you know, people just sit up in the air. It ruins world PvP on PvP servers because people aren't just there. And then also it removes you from the content itself. You're not immersed in the world if you can just fly over it and not have to deal with any kind of dangers in between your questing points. So
yeah, I think if they did add rocket boots, it would just be like a small burst to get up to a. It'd be like a triple jump almost.
I would like to see like Makari get some kind of like jetpack kind of thing where they get these blasters that come out their back or something. But you know, they could create, even if you're flying, they could make that engaging to a degree because let's face it, we're in a sci-fi world with technology. Maybe they could make it where maybe you're getting blasted out of the sky if you just sit there and say, oh, I'm gonna auto go over from point A to point B. Maybe you're gonna get blasted out.
Yeah, maybe even air combat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that if they could do some kind of system, I mean, I agree with that, you know, it is kind of weird that we're this sci-fi planet and we've flown here to get here, but we can't, you know, fly ourselves.
Yeah, you gotta rocket ships and everything else.
That's the point where they have to balance between, you know, MMO and, you know, lore. They have to balance it out between the reality of the game and the lore of the game. So.
I think they could do all right with it as long as they kept with their idea that we don't want you to just be able to go from point A to point B auto, that they make it where you have to engage the environment in some fashion, whether it's avoiding, you know, surface to air missiles or whatever, you know. But as long as they make it engaging in some way, I think they could pull it off just fine.
So the other thing that we actually already kind of touched on a little bit is that there was a map for the Cannon Battleground. You can actually click on that and see the map. It is kind of small as far as the scope of the battlegrounds go, but it's there. And we'll leave a link to it so everybody can see it. Again, not much information about it, but it has been data mined, so it's definitely in the works.
What do you think about this idea of potential new classes?
I saw this, and I've actually heard about this, that they were the names of some of the classes before they changed their names.
And
just so gotta be an Esper. Right?
Yeah, just so people are aware, we are talking about the new names that we see come out are a Charmer, a Sorcerer, and a Dark Weaver. I don't know. And if the supporting photo that they have pulled up, obviously some art.
Yeah, this is from early
yeah,
stuff.
this looks way this is concept art. Yeah, I don't know how much I really buy into.
Well, what it is in this picture, they have 4 races from the Dominion and 3 from the Exiles. They have a Orin that is holding kind of a short staff.
Almost looks shaman-like.
It's like a scepter.
Yeah, and then they have a Cassian holding a large staff and kind of some flames in their hand. So I would imagine that this is like a sorcerer on the Cassian one. I don't know what the Orin would be specifically in the names of those. I can't really. Maybe Charmer.
Well, they might both be sorcerers, but they're just doing two different sides. Like,
and that's
the
why I said
Aurum is-
I've heard two different stories that either these were classes that they had thought about, because like you said, this is early concept art, classes they thought about and scrapped, or that these were the names of classes that are in the game now. They just changed the names.
I almost think that those are just changed names of an Esper, because they're all the same, almost all the same type of, thing. Like a Charmer.
The only one is
possibly-
Darkweaver.
Yeah. But if you think about it, Espers do have nightmares. And maybe their idea was to make them dark and evil. And then they probably had like a Charmer, which they have the dreams and stuff, and they have nice balloon stuff. Then they have Sorcerer that they can make illusions and stuff, and then Darkweaver with a nightmare. Because if you think about it, they're all the same, unless they're making a whole new class that is kind of like an Esper, but different. And this is the name of that thing, and they just haven't released what the actual name of it is.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess it's possible that these are still possible, future classes. I mean, who knows? Maybe they decided to not, just scrap them, but to push them back for an expansion or something.
Yeah.
All speculation, though.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. This is
Nothing
all
for sure.
speculation, but,
All
there's
of this, predictions.
There's no guarantee that Drop 4 has what it has,
Yeah.
So
Definitely all speculation. But some other things, just like random tidbits, more ship hands, more adventures, lots more housing stuff, dungeons, path content, things like that will most likely get added along the way. But yeah, this whole thing, very, very interesting. The look at where we could be potentially by the end of the year. So this week on the live stream, the Nexus Report one, they gave us an update with Hugh Shelton about PvP and PvE. Gave us a little bit of what's going to be happening and some things that already have happened. People were submitting questions, and he was doing his best to answer them. It was supposed to be a PvP one, and then they brought him in because he's a lead PvE person. So we're going to just break it down into PvP and PvE, and we'll go ahead and start with the PvP stuff. Recently, they did some changes to the PvP stuff. They've really been struggling with PvP, trying to balance it, and as far as the PvP itself, and then also ratings. They've had some issues with that. A lot of people have felt that since Drop 2, healing is pretty low, and Hugh Shelton did agree with that. They said it's not where they want it to be. They're going to work on bringing it up slightly, but they want to be very careful to not push it too far back, because before it was like healer, it could heal 5 people and not have to worry about anything dying themselves or anything like that. They felt they were too over the top before. So they're going to be working to rebalance the healing in PvP a little bit. And then along those lines, they're also looking at toning down damage in PvP, either through direct reduction of the damage or by increasing everyone's health pools. So they said that PvP geared and ruined players are doing way more damage than they like. They're also looking to reduce the gap between the PvP gear sets. They don't like that just because someone is in 1800 gear that they can just roll over everybody else and not have to worry about anything, which is the same thing. That goes back to what I was just saying, that an 1800 geared person is going to run up to me doing dailies in the, Crimson Badlands in full PvE gear and just be able to one-shot me.
But is there any way to really balance that? I mean, because, for example, say somebody's big into PvP, such as Nuts, and he's got PvP gear, and say you're on a PvP server, but you're more interested in PvE, so you're out running around doing dailies, quests, whatever the case. Now, if a guy comes up, now they wanted to separate what the stats were for PvP needed versus PvE, so that you weren't doing the best in slot PvP weapon kind of thing. So if you're in PvE gear and you're out just questing around and a guy comes up to you on a PvP server in PvP gear, do you stand a chance?
That's what they're working on. That's exactly what they want to happen. They don't think that there should be such a discrepancy between people. They've freely admitted that there is no reason that no matter what gear, no one of your level should one-shot you.
Right.
They've said that straight out.
Which that's going to be a tough balance.
That's what they're looking to do.
But they should have an advantage.
Yes and no. I mean, I see what you're saying, But
Like, I mean, they work for the PvP gear, and that's what they want to play.
but I work for my PvE gear just the same.
Right.
So,
Is there a way to where they say, okay, if you're in a battleground or something and you're doing the PvP thing in a structured thing, that the stats kind of work in one direction, but while you're in open world, it's almost like
They
in the
do.
background the stats change
Yeah,
to bring you online.
that's exactly what they do. They've actually talked about that it's a different, you already do significantly less damage inside a battleground or arena in PvP gear than you will in the open world. And that's part of the problem, is that it's a different formula that's configuring, what kind of damage you're doing in open world PvP versus instanced. What specifically this was talking about, though, was not the difference between PvE and PvP gear, but the difference between, like, say, the 1500 set and the 1800 set. They want to work to ease that curve and then to also pull some of the damage down from the 1800 set because it's a little too high. And that's what they're saying, that they don't want people to just be sitting in 1800 gear and just rolling over everyone who's in 1500 gear, which is really, admittedly, not that much lower. They shouldn't just be like, I'm 1800, I am God,
Yeah.
So that's what they're working on. They've already started to kind of do this, where they've implemented, instead of you getting gear at, let's say, 1200, 1500, 1800, it's going to be, 1200, then 1350, then 1480, then 1500. They're making
They
it so you
actually
can
have
get
that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've already implemented it.
Okay.
That you can, ease out that curve as far as the actual gearing itself goes, which was part of the problem. Now what they're doing, or planning to do, is to actually pull down and even out some of the damage numbers from the gear. So
I think they need to reduce the damage so you don't get one shot, but I think they should have an advantage. To
like I
people
said,
who
I
don't-
agree to a point, but I don't
Yeah,
think
I
that
mean, they
in
shouldn't,
any
like-
plane, though, that I should be one shot by someone my level.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they should
That's
just
a little
roll
much.
over you like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, they should take less damage, and you should do more damage. Well, I wouldn't say more damage, but
No,
you should
that
take
is
less.
true. That's exactly what should happen.
Yeah, so you should do more damage to them and take less damage, but you shouldn't be roll over if you don't have PvE.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Because
really where the
they'll do
difference
more.
in PvP and PvE gear goes, is that I should do more damage in PvE gear, but take more damage. Whereas in PvP, you should have more survivability based on those PvP stats, but not do as much damage as me. When you look at a gear gap, though, then yeah, if, like, say someone, let's even move beyond. I think they have 2200 gear as well that no one ever talks about. So let's say someone in 2200 gear is fighting against, let's say, me in my PvE gear, my raid gear. We'll even go with that. Yeah, that person in 2200 gear should definitely have an advantage, but I should be able to react and at least try and get away. That's the problem right now, is that I can't even react and try and get away. So that's what they need to
Right.
fix.
Sounds perfectly simple to
I'm not
me.
saying I should beat them by any means. I'm just saying I should have a chance to even respond and look at what just killed me.
Yeah, I totally agree with your thought line there, where with the PvE gear, again, you should be, able to absorb less, but you can put out more, whereas the PvP is focused that you will have more survivability, but you're going to put out less.
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense, because if you're in there with, 25 other players and you're all beating against each other, well, I'm sure if you're in PvP gear, you got some kind of survivability and you don't experience what I experience.
Yeah, you're not going to die as quickly.
I think that's,
Which is
that'll
part
be
of
a
the
good
point of PvP gear,
Right.
honestly, is more survivability so that you have more time to utilize your skills to stay in combat to try and take someone else out.
Exactly.
So,
Seems perfectly simple to me.
and then the other thing, since we're talking about PvP, they're also aware and working on a solution to the 1800 weapons being the best in slot for PvEers.
Yeah, that's gotta be fixed.
That's gonna be fixed, I think, as part of that whole gear curve fix there, when they balance out and redo things. They said that they have to be careful with this one as well, though, because there are people that play the game just to PvP, so they need to have something that is comparable to, say, me getting my weapon from Omana, however you say its name, the final boss of Genetic Archives. Phenomena. They need to keep it, on par, but make it so that PvEers don't have to PvP to be best in slot, which some people
Right.
want to do that. So they're working on trying to fix that as well. So that's all I have for PvP. Moving on to PvE, they're planning to normalize attack power and support power scaling between the classes. As it currently sits, the light armor classes, being Spellslinger and Esper, typically have quite a bit more assault power and support power than the other classes. This happens because they don't have a stance. Most of the other classes that are able to utilize a support role like that, with tanks, typically have a damage stance that increases the damage output, so they balance that by giving them less attack power. So what they're going to do is make it so that those two weapons typically would have the same amount of assault power, and in order to balance that, they're going to be removing the plus damage stances. I've talked to a couple people about this. Apparently, the biggest, oh my god, why? I've heard is from Stalkers. Apparently, their stance does something to one of their abilities.
Yeah, so Stalker is, when they go into stealth, their next attack is 100% crit. Mm-hmm. So they might be worrying about that.
Which I'm sure that they would kind of rebalance abilities and things like that to compensate for it.
I think that Nate will still do that. They're just going to normalize because it does give you more damage dealt.
Yeah, that makes sense. This change isn't going to happen for a couple more drops. I mean, they definitely want to do a lot of internal testing, and then they'll probably deploy this on the PTR, I would imagine, as well. So this won't be something that we see for at least another couple months, but it is out there, and they're working on it. Another thing that they're looking to do is they plan to adjust trigger fingers, which is the most sought-after amp in the game. It's a little bit better now, but they're planning on adjusting its power cost in the amp tree from 4 to 6. It is definitely a necessary one for pretty much all DPS Spellslingers. I don't know one that doesn't use it. They did increase the drop rate, though, recently on all amps that are rare quality or better. All dungeon bosses, including normal ones, so even your low-level, level 20 ones, will now drop a rare quality or better amp. That significantly increases the drop rate of all of those amps. And another thing to Spellslinger, this was what I was talking about, getting one shot by charge shot. They actually plan to take a lot of the burst away from the tier 8 charge shot, and they're going to make it a dot instead of increasing the damage that it does. Alright, and now we come to our open mic, where we tell you guys about what's going on in our world. We're going to start with Cabal.
Yeah, so as you guys know, I've made it to 50.
Woo!
So I was pretty excited over that.
50 years old.
Yeah, I know, right? That's not far off.
Late to the party, but still there.
Yes, I am. The big thing I just wanted to go over briefly. I'm sure there's plenty of people just coming up onto 50 or there in the near future. I'm sure not everybody is 50 and on their 5th alt. As much as people want me to believe, I just don't believe that's the case. There's too many people in this game. Yeah. So, but really, I just wanted to get out there that, so you hit 50. Now what? What do you got to do next? I'm sure many people have heard, well, if you're going to raid, you got to get your attunement key, you got to get that done. So, obviously it's, going out and getting your dailies done and doing adventures and so forth to get your rep maxed out and everything. I was just curious if you guys had any suggestions on, is one zone better than the other? Is there maybe some tips, tricks, optimization, any ideas that you guys can suggest to kind of,
or leveling?
No, as far as collecting up your elder gems, because you got to get up your elder gems there. And any suggestions on where?
My suggestion is right now, I think doing adventures gives you a lot of money and also elder gem, along with dailies. Each quest from a daily will give you 1 elder gem, and I think the cap's 140 each week. So I say do all your dailies. 1, because you want to get Captain Elder Gems. I suggest not buying the Manta Ray hoverboard and buying all the accessories like I did. But it's kind of nice because no one's as dumb as me to buy it, so I'm like the only guy that has it on my server.
Super cool.
Besides a few. But anyway, I suggest buying either ability points or amp points. Limited action set, the extra one.
Do you guys find any particular zones better than others, or more basically creating if you go to this zone, it's a little more optimized or a little smoother versus you really got to jump around in another zone? Do you guys?
I think that Northern Waste is the better one to do.
I
I mean,
agree.
you really want to do both of them, really, optimally. Like you said, as far as your Elder Gems go, you really want to do both of them. But if you're just going for, like, rep or, like, get out easy, get it done quick, Northern Waste is smaller, and the quests are a lot more, like, you can just go in a circle, basically,
Right.
and get them done. And also the rep vendor for Northern Waste, because that came out, after Crimson. We launched with Crimson Badlands, and then that was added, Drop 1? It has epic gear at Beloved, which for some people it's really good. Depending on your class, there might be, that might be some of your best in slot.
Right.
But I would say Northern Waste, if you're just looking like optimization, just get in, get out, get done. But until you're at your Elder Gem cap, at least, do both of them. And then, like he said, run an adventure or 2 a day. I mean, if you do your dailies and do like an adventure or 2 a day, you should be capped within like 2 to 3 days. And then any other dailies or anything else you do for the rest of the week that would give you Elder Gems gives you like money. And you can make like 5 to 6 platinum in a week.
Even PvP will give you Elder Gem.
So, okay. So all in all, if you are on a limited timeline, like I typically am, I guess I'll focus Northern Waste right out the gate. And because like you said, being more condensed, that does
Northern
work well
Waste.
for me.
Yeah, Northern Waste seems to be the more optimized, and it's a lot faster. And I found Crimson Badlands to be kind of a pain.
So I guess the only other thing that I really had to go over, or at least that I wanted to go over, was this little obnoxious thing I've seen on zone chats and a few forums here and there, and I'm sure these just trolls, But I thought that some of the conversation we had earlier tied in with some of this, which is some decent facts. And for me, I just slapped it up there as the question of, is Wildstar dead? Because I see people saying this, which I think is so ridiculous. Yeah. It's just like, already, people, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I think that it comes down to this, and I was actually talking to someone on Reddit, more so arguing with them, but, whatever. The game is hard, and it takes a significant amount of time and skill to play this game. And we've talked about this before, that Wildstar, Carbine, they understand that they're not going to have millions upon millions of subs, because when they made this game, they made it to cater to that top rank of player that, has been disenfranchised by games like WoW, that moved more towards that casual audience just to get numbers. These people want content that is difficult and hard. And I think that people are leaving, but not because of anything Wildstar has done wrong.
It's just not their style.
It's just, these people, whether it be time or skill or whatever, we've talked about before the bruised egos that people have, that they're not as hardcore as they thought they were. And that doesn't mean that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad gamer or a bad, player. That can be that you're not so hardcore because you just don't have the time. And this game does take time, more so than any other MMO I've seen. And people just can't accept that. And then if you see somebody that either doesn't have the time or the skill, that person's going to go tell their friends, oh no, that game sucks, you can't do anything, And it just gives out the whole negative vibe and makes just this whole toxic, it's just, Reddit to me has become that. It's people that just can't accept that they might not have the skill or the time or, the drive to play the game the way that Carbine intended it.
And which thus creates the negative Nancy attitude.
Exactly.
And
I think people just didn't know what they're getting themselves into, really.
Yeah.
well,
It's going to take a lot of time to do this.
when I saw this come across a few times and stuff, it made me come up, it made me wonder. It made me start to look. And so I checked out this interview, or listened to this interview with Gaffney, which he did this interview, and it was after a month of gameplay. So we're beyond the first month. Now we've got paying subs, which just made me kind of think of a few things, and I guess try to remember back, because he did bring up some good points. let's face it, they had launch success. You know, he was saying that he said something like some 25 million lines of code running together on their servers to launch, which is just insane.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, success one. You know, two, you got to keep in mind how much Elder Game they have launched with. I mean, how many MMOs, as we've talked before, do you know of that have launched with this much content?
Yeah.
And that's something,
already.
you know, I mean, these guys have came into an MMO world with a new IP, and they're already fitting in. They're like, they're acting like they've been around for years.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just stuff to keep in mind. And the leveling speeds, he said they're pretty much what they projected. You know, they do have their exceptions, of course, the people that have gone out and done the, you know, world firsts and so forth. But as a whole, leveling speeds have landed right in their projected parameters. So far, everything they're doing is on track with what they've set out to do. He also did state that they had, because we were talking about the speculated content coming out, he said that they have 15 updates and some form of pre-production. So basically, for the next year plus some, they've got content being made for every bit.
Oh yeah, they've talked about that they have a whole expansion's worth of content lined up.
Yeah,
for the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing that, you know, we talk about, we're projecting this, and, you know, some people listening might be like, that sounds like a whole lot, but they got teams working. They've got 15 updates already in the shoot.
And as a side note, just for anybody that's listening that is this person, the people that are working on content or, you know, a certain class or a PvP are not the same people that work on bug fixes or things like that. So when you go on, let's say, the Wildstar live stream and start yelling at them, you know, instead of live streaming, why don't you fix the game? Those people don't have anything to do with it. Odds are you don't want those people having anything to do with it, because people like Tony Ray and Frost, they're not IT guys. So if you want them to go fix your game, it's going to take even longer. I love them, but they're not those guys. So you guys really need to chill. All of you that are doing that.
You know, you gotta realize they're continuing to analyze data. They're continuing to see, like they said before, is it fun? Is it right? Are people dropping? Are people suddenly not picking up the game again from here?
Yeah.
They've got, you know, 2/3 of a team working on X and another third of their team working on future stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and,
MMOs are big companies.
Yeah.
Just because you see a few faces, you know, like Frost or Tony Ray or Gaffney or whatever, those aren't the people that are doing all the stuff behind the scenes.
You know, and it's like, if you take a business and you think of, the stuffy, boring boardroom meetings and all that humdrum, well, guess what? They do it over this game too. There's tons of departments, lots of people. They have meetings, and it's like a large business.
I mean, the bottom line is they are working on it.
And that's the other thing. I mean, this is interview with Gaffney after the month, you know, paying subs. They've actually got paying people. So this is kind of like updated content information from Gaffney. It's kind of like a State of the Union address almost after a month in. You know, what's the health of the game? And guess what, folks? Looking damn good.
Yeah.
One question which was posed to Gaffney, which kind of made me chuckle, was a very direct question. Quote with the question was, you know, any wavering on the hardcore approach of the game? And Gaffney's answer was, and I'll quote, "Oh, Christ, no." You know,
Good.
which just goes to it basically, you know, is a little tossed back to the negative Nancys and all the boo-hooers and the this, that, and the naysayers and everything. You know what? They're holding course, and they know where they're standing. They know what they're bringing out. Everything so far is pretty much on track. We're just, you know, fixing up the little bumps in the roadway, the little hiccups.
Yeah.
That's all we're dealing with here.
It's like I said earlier, if you look at any MMO that comes out, they're all going to have this in the beginning. For what has come before it, Wildstar launched very well. It really did. And yeah, they're gonna have bugs. Yeah, they're gonna have mess ups. I challenge anyone, leave a comment. Tell me an MMO that launched with no bugs, no server issues, no downtime. It doesn't exist.
No.
Period.
No.
And really, when you need to look at, like I said before, the health and success of an MMO, about 6 to 8 months down the line. That really gives you a good look, because at that point, they've, polished out a lot of stuff. They've fixed a lot of bugs. The community kind of levels out. You're going to probably get a little bit of resurgence of population in your game. Maybe like a 10 to 20% bump if you get things right. And that's about a good point to start looking at the game and saying, okay, this is where the potential of the game really lies, at about that point. And people just need to have some patience. That's what it comes down to.
It will flatten out and hit cruise control, but till then, again, like you said, you're going to have a lot of people come in and maybe end up with the bruised egos, and it's not working quite what they thought it would be or whatever.
Don't force it. If it's not right for you now, or you don't think it'll work out, you don't have to play it. No. Like I said, they might be losing people, but it's not necessarily because of anything they've done wrong. I can say the only thing I can give people is that, their PvP was kind of borked completely, and they have admitted that too. And they're working diligently. Like, you see weekly updates to try and fix it. They can only do so much. I mean, we go back to this all the time, but people always think, oh, it's just an easy fix. Why don't they just do this or just do that? And it's not that simple. It really isn't. Because you change one thing and it changes 10 things. I mean, we've seen it happen already in this game. Because they're trying to get stuff out to appease people. And then people will bitch about that.
Right.
So it's like a lose-lose for them.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle.
Exactly.
One of the interesting things that I did key in on the interview was Gaffney explained kind of an explanation of their methodology, on what their thought process is with the game over time. And one of the things he said is how they support, that 1% in the hardcore, like they had stated in their selling point in the very beginning, while they're still, with that and they like that. But their plan is also, he said that their plan was even more evil than that their plan was to take casual players, bring them in, and convert them into a hardcore player over time. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily steering out casuals, but they want to embrace them. They're not going to make things easier, but they want to bring these people in and teach them to become better players, a more hardcore player.
Honestly, I think that even just playing this game will make you a more hardcore player. Like, straight up. Even if you're, you consider yourself a casual player of other MMOs, I would say that this game, even at a casual level, would be more hardcore in other games. Because it just requires, like I said before, more skill, more time, more effort. You're going to have to learn things.
Much more
function.
Much more situational awareness, whether you like it or not. On some level, there's more awareness than what you had in other games.
Definitely.
And so with just a cause and effect, your level is going to go up. But as far as my ranting, that's about it that I had planned out. That just one of the things that struck me over the week and I wanted to talk about. How about you, Nuts?
Well, they did implement a lot of new PvP stuff. So they implemented the PvP power and all that stuff. They implemented the soft cap. They raised the soft cap for gear, so you can wear full PvP gear and be awesome. I think there might be MMR implemented. When I was doing PvP the other day, I noticed that I had a gear score. I don't know if that actually matched me with people that had similar gear score to me, but I did see it was there, so maybe they're working on it. They have a ton of buffs and nerfs, I noticed. On spell slingers, they have some nerfs to soccer tanks, thank God, because they're literally unstoppable before.
Yeah.
They still kind of are in a way, but not as bad. And also you get random ruins for PvP gear that you buy from vendors. So just like you could farm PvE gear from bosses, you can farm you could just keep buying PvP gear and get the ruins that you want on a certain piece of gear.
A lot of people were upset by that, actually.
I don't see why. It doesn't change anything, really.
Well, because I think they were talking about making it so runes aren't so random, but then they did that to PvP gear. So a lot of people were kind of confused by the whole cross there, I guess. But I mean, I can see what you're saying though too, because I mean, if you buy a piece of gear, it doesn't have good. It gives you something to strive for, like, so you don't just get a bunch of gear, then get prestige capped, and then have nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a
get something
progression.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
Medic buffs are awesome. I think they are where they need to be. Power to the medic, because we were kind of really bad DPS before, but we're definitely a lot better. And you see top DPS and raids are medics sometimes now. So that's good to see. Entombment for our guild. Most of us are on world bosses are done. So we're getting close to raid. Come join us if you're on Warbringer, Exiles if you're not a Jerry Dominion. We're working with other guilds. We're making alliances and merging with people. So that's where we are with our guild.
What is your guild name?
We're called Thade Vanguard right now. Just kind of a random name that we chose. So we're working on merging with other guilds that are going to join us since we have been growing a bit. We're working on another guild that's actually down to X89, I think his name is, the first boss in the 20-man raid. So we're working with them, and we're taking some DPS if we need it, because we don't have full 20 raiders right now. We're working on it, but we can pug people from other guilds that we trust in our alliance with. And then real quick, I wanted to talk about life. Currently, I'm in college. I go to a community college right now. In the future, the near future, I'm going to take one more semester at this community college, then I'm going to be moving to ISU. I'm going to be living with some friends in their apartment. I actually visited them. I met them. I stayed with them for a couple of days over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. But when I do move, we want to see where I am with that. I don't think it will change anything, but we'll see as it goes. So that's basically all I got. How about you, Jazzy?
So we've actually had a pretty interesting couple weeks as far as our guild goes. We actually decided to merge our guild into another one on our server. They're very like-minded to what we do, just didn't really have the time. And then, like I said, our guild is very unbalanced. There's a lot more exile on our server. I'm sorry, our server is a lot more exile than it is Dominion. So it's really hard to recruit. Yeah, it was really hard to recruit. And then it just came down to it that myself and the co-lead just didn't have the time. The co-lead, he's in the military and his schedule is changing all the time. I'm doing this stuff. I'm trying to get more on YouTube. Just started a new job. So don't really have the time to run the guild the way we wanted to. So we decided to merge our guild into another one. They're called the Art of Warfare. We're on Pago, Dominion. They're a very good guild. We're working on getting groups set up for the dungeon part of the attunement. That's where a lot of people are. But they have people that are working on other parts of it too. And they're also, unlike a lot of guilds, more than willing to go back and help people move forward with the attunement.
Yeah,
that's the problem with a lot of guilds right now.
Yeah, that's
either not active or they're not helping.
That's that part of, don't be a guild shop and don't go in and you have to be in and you have to invest yourself and to be part of building that infrastructure. And these guys, they really seem like they've got that idea. We're starting to get a lot of people now. We're starting to gain the size. And I think, before too long here, we'll be really sitting ready to start hitting the raid.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely getting close, and it shouldn't be too long. I would say within the next few weeks, we should be there. Yeah, like I said, these guys are really good people, and if anybody is on Pago Dominion, which I know there's not very many left, but if you're there and you need a guild of, really cool, really, laid-back people, you can find them at taw.net. That's TAW.net, and you can just tell them Jazzy or Cabal sent you.
What was that again? Taw.net? TAW?
Taw.net, yes, TAW. Very cool people, very nice guild. They're actually a multi-gaming clan. They actually encompass, I think it was 26 plus different games. They have representation in those games with about overarching, the entire clan has about 2,500 members. So it's a fairly large community, and odds are, if you play any other game that's out there, they probably have representation in that game.
And just one thing to note, though, I was even a little hesitant when I heard such size. The way they have this guild structured, is they do have this giant community, but they do have it structured to have a smaller feel.
Yeah.
So they're able to say, okay, here's our, Wildstar community, and this is what we're going to do. And so they do have the structure really nailed down, that you're not just getting lost in amongst
Definitely.
2,500 people.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So, because I've heard of some guilds that, 500 plus people, and you're just a name and a number, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's unsatisfying. These guys have it set up really well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, in the Wildstar division, I think they said they've got about like 50 or 60 people, and they're very friendly. They're always on TeamSpeak, just very cool group of people. So like I said, that's ta.net, Pago, Dominion, if you guys are looking. Actually, I think they might be starting an Exile guild. That's not 100% yet.
There was talks over it.
Yeah, so they might even pick up Exile on Pago if you're looking for that. But yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know, give them a shout out. They're cool people, and that's where myself and Cabal are now. That's that for the guild. And then as far as what I've been doing, I actually started playing my medic quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, and I really, really like it. Like a lot. It's a lot of fun for me.
Is your spell slinger in trouble?
I possibly, actually, honestly.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm either going to have a co-main or a new main. I'm really going to have to figure it out by the time I get to endgame. I think once I get a feel at endgame, I should be 50 probably by the end of next week.
Any pointers, let me know.
But I really do like it, and I think a big part of it I kind of figured out, like in WoW, I loved Enhancement Shaman, and I kind of get that vibe from Medic. It kind of feels like an Enhancement Shaman from WoW, which is funny that I really like Medic this much, because, and so many people gave me crap for this, I hated Medic in beta. Like, I absolutely hated it, and I was always like, this will be the last thing I ever play. If I ever play it, it's horrible, and I hate it. And then I got to leveling 1 with my husband, and I got over like level 10, and after that it was just like night and day. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I love it. And I've been playing it like nonstop. Like, I've played my medic more than I've played Jazzy in the last week and a half, like, no joke.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. But I think I'm like 26 or 27 right now, so I hope I'll be 50 by the end of next week, and next episode I'll have a decision, I guess, on what I'm gonna do. Hopefully. But yeah, okay. And other than that, I'm finally starting to get myself on a schedule again. Like I said, I got a new job that I'm starting, and getting everything in my personal life just kind of straightened out. I'm going to be able to start regularly making videos to put on the YouTube channel. I already have a couple things planned this week. Like I said earlier, I'm going to jump on the PTR this week and make a couple videos. I'm also going to do a couple more add-on spotlight videos. And then I actually have a story video planned, my first one for Wildstar, which I'm trying to work out the details on that. Obviously, my Chew is going to be in it. I've got a couple other people I'm working with, so that'll be interesting.
Be cool. That'll be really neat. Yeah.
I did a couple of those for WoW, and they were decently received, so I'm hoping with Wildstar it'll work out too.
That's cool. I look forward to seeing that one.
And the other thing that I'm really happy about, how we talked about that they added the rare amp drops to all the mobs, or all the dungeon bosses rather. Because of that, the price of trigger fingers in particular, like, tanked. I think not only because of the increased drop rate, but also because it got a slight nerf in the last update. And it went from being recently about 20 to 25 platinum. I bought mine yesterday for 2.5 platinum.
Shoo, there's some deflation for you.
Yeah.
And I've heard someone that bought it for under a plat too.
Yeah.
On my side.
Wow.
And it's funny because I got my first own drop one a couple weeks ago. I was talking about it, and I sold it at a loss at that time for 15 platinum just so I could get rid of it because I knew this was coming, and I'm so happy I did now. Because I was able to buy my next month the game time, a couple other things. I bought my husband a weapon, and then I was able to buy my own trigger fingers. So
nice.
Doing that econ PvP, paying attention to trends in econ.
Yes,
it
paid off.
That's right. It'll save you some money. But yeah, that's been my little rant here. That's all I got. That's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Thanks for tuning in and listening once again. I am Jazzy, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jazzy_Chua. Also, you can find me occasionally on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jazzy_Chua. You can subscribe to Nuts on his YouTube channel for reviews, playthroughs, and commentaries at youtube.com/Cluffy142. And he's actually got
posted
videos.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm starting to post a lot more
Yay.
Wildstar stuff. I got a lot of, I'm working on dungeons mostly. I got some silver runs and boss kills, so.
It's got a couple of good dungeon videos up there. Definitely recommend going and looking at those. And also, you can follow Cabal on Twitter at Cabal_Makari. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed our show and leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about all this. And we will see you guys next time.
All right, everybody, take care and be safe.
Love you guys.